involved sir is actively involved in research activities, academic writings, and training of postgraduate students. So it's my pleasure to welcome sir to share his expertise and guide us, that is postgraduate training, on the difficult topic, that is how to perform a literature search.
Thank you, Sushmita. Thank you so much for this introduction, and I also thank Dr. Shahul Amin, Dr. Dhruvajyoti Bhuya, and other members of Team Upskill and all the postgraduate trainees for being here today. So I'll first start screen sharing and set the agenda for today's discussion. Just a minute. Okay. I hope it's visible and I am audible.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Shams. So when we had actually thought of conceptualizing the various topics, literature search came out to be one of the important areas, and we thought that this can be of major importance to all the PGs, in not only for their current thesis but also for future endeavors, whether they want to go for academic publishing or for even looking for a clinical topic. So today I'll be broadly covering these areas: various types and sources of biomedical literature, what are the basic steps of a literature review, how to frame a research question prior to research, how to search PubMed, and how to search Google Scholar. You see, there are various search engines, but I will primarily restrict myself to these two most important, popular and free search engines. So at the end of the talk, at least you should be able to comfortably handle these two search engines. So why do we need to search literature? It could be so many reasons. It could be to prepare a thesis protocol, to submit a research project proposal, to write a detailed literature review as a part of thesis dissertation, as many of you would be facing now. Even to prepare for a seminar. We had a topic on a seminar by Dr. Varun, and so there can be one before preparing for a seminar also, you will have to do extensive literature search on the topic. Then you go further higher up and you may have to write a review article in future. To prepare for a talk or lecture, very, very common even for senior psychiatrists. And what we do not usually use to answer a clinical question. You may think that a particular clinical condition may need a proper literature search to come out with the latest evidence-based treatment, which you may not find in your textbooks. So many purposes can be served by a literature search. So you should know how to effectively search literature to find the right evidence-based answer to your question. So first, I'll just briefly mention what are the sources of literature. You know, there can be the primary sources, the usually original articles, case report, case series. Secondary sources, which are actually literature derived from the primary sources, like review articles, meta-analysis, systematic reviews. Tertiary sources mainly consist of textbooks and other compiled material like maybe encyclopedia and all. Then we also have formal or published literature, which are either published in books or in journals. And you have gray literature. This is very important because it constitutes a huge literature load, which is unpublished thesis, dissertations, conference proceedings, and white paper of government organizations. So a proper literature review, if it is published, should also have a look at the gray literature. So having said that, what are the common methods of search? You know, initially when electronic search was not so popular, not so common or accessible, maybe around 15-20 years back, we would all have to make do with hard copies of journals, visit the library, try to ask from our guides or seniors what is the key review article, then find it out from the journal, and then gradually tick one by one reference and go to the manually search those hard copies of journals or sometimes books for references, and sometimes also the dissertations or thesis on similar topics by our seniors in the library. So that used to be the era of hard copy manual search. It is not that it is not important these days, but the options these days are much more. You can do it sitting at your home in a computer, although you will have to take the help of your library when you will have to access the full text of the articles. So in digital search, the commonest is search using keywords. So you want to look for an article on treatment of depression. So you just write treatment of depression. So keyword based search is one. Forward chronological search. Basically, you search for an important article on the topic, then you look for all the articles that have cited the article, that have quoted this article, and you search those articles. So it is called a forward chronological search. Forward means those articles which have been published after the parent article. And backward chronological search is you zero down on an article, download it, get the full text, and go back to the reference section of the article and hunt out each and every article that this particular article has referenced. So in backward chronological search, you actually go back to those articles which have been published before the parent article and you search for those articles. So these are the common methods of digital search. And the most popular, databases and search engines. You see, databases are actually, they contain citations of articles from peer-reviewed sources like journals, books, etc. They are the authentic sources of articles, although the number of articles that you can get from databases are limited. So PubMed will have mostly articles from Medline index journals. There are certain journals which are not indexed in Medline, but are indexed in Elsevier, Scopus. So you will find them. The articles primarily dealing with psychological material is usually found in the repository called PsycInfo. So databases are original and authentic sources of articles, peer-reviewed articles, but sometimes they are limited in their capability, although that itself may be sufficient for our purposes. Then we have the famous Google Scholar search engine. You see, Google Scholar is not a database. So it is not the articles are indexed in Google Scholar. It is just a search engine which collects material from all possible academic sources. Unlike Google, which collects from non-academic sources, Google Scholar usually searches online repositories. For example, ResearchGate, they will search PubMed and so many other places and try to find out the academic articles and compile them. So it is an effective search engine. So some of them can be paid, some of them are non-paid. For example, PsycInfo and Scopus are usually paid sources, whereas PubMed and Google Scholars are usually free sources. That is why they are so popular. So coming to the steps of literature review, first you frame a research question. You see, you may be thinking that why do I have to frame a research question for a search? The reason is that if you are simply searching for, say, escitalopram in depression, that can be a very simple search where you just put escitalopram and depression. That will not be a problem. But supposing you want to search how effective SSRIs are compared to SNRIs for the treatment of depression, here you will have to formulate a research question and you have to go for a step-by-step search in order to find out the effective articles. Because if you simply type the entire sentence, the search engine will not give you a proper result, because these search engines, academic search engines, mostly do not operate just like Google. So first you have to frame a research question and search relevant literature. These are the 2 points which I'm going to discuss today. The other steps include, once you have collected the material, you have to assess the quality of the selected studies, analyze and critically evaluate the literature, and finally, you'll have to compile them in your own words to complete the literature review. So there are many ways of framing a research question, but if you look up standard literature, the commonest format or the most popular format is known as the PICO format. P is basically for patient or population. I is for the intervention in case you are having an intervention. It may be there, it may not be there in your research question. Another is the comparison group. And finally, what is the outcome that you are searching? So here I've given a model research question. Supposing you want to see what is the efficacy of fluoxetine for the treatment of depression in comparison to cognitive behavior therapy. So this is basically the question that has come to your mind, or this is the question, the answer of which you are looking. So first is you have to divide it into patient group. So it's a depression group. Next is the intervention. So intervention is basically the drug fluoxetine. That is what you are looking for. What is the comparison group? Comparison group is again that particular group with which you are comparing. So it is cognitive behavior therapy or CBT. And finally, the outcome group, where actually you measure the outcome in terms of a measurable value. So in case of depression, probably the outcome will be scores in a standardized tool like HAM-D. So with this format in mind, you can actually conduct a literature search to find an answer to your research question. So now I come to PubMed and how to search for PubMed. So as you can see, PubMed is basically an online database maintained by the National Library of Medicine, USA. It consists of more than 32 million citations. You know, the citations, the number keeps increasing. This is the recent data. More than 32 million citations for biomedical literature from Medline, life science journals, and online books. So this is the entire repertoire for PubMed. And the types of search that you can usually do in PubMed can be either a word or a phrase search using mainly keyword. Then it can be a field search using Boolean operators, and searches using mesh terms or medical subject heading terms. So there are 4 common types of search that can be done in PubMed. So I'll come to them one by one. So what is a word or a phrase search? The database search is done with specific words or phrases. For example, you want to search for major depressive disorder. So all articles that contain the search word or phrase will be retrieved. To make the phrase search effective, the phrase must be put within quotation marks. Now this is important. If you are looking for major depressive disorder and you just type major depressive disorder, I will show it to you. It may yield many more articles because the search engine will look separately for major, will separately look for depressive, and will separately look for disorder. If you put it within quotation marks like this, if you put it major depressive disorder like this, then the search engine will only search for those places where all the 3 words are occurring together. So to make phrase search more effective, you will have to put them within quotation marks. That will increase some amount of specificity. A problem with this basic search method is it looks for words and phrases appearing anywhere in the article. So all places of the article. So sometimes major depressive disorder, may be appearing at places where it may not be relevant for your search. So it is a little non-specific in nature, but if you put it within quotation marks, it will give some amount of specificity. This is a field search. Field search is basically you look for the same phrase, but within very specific fields, and you have to specify it within your search. So supposing you want to look for, you want a PubMed search engine to look for major depressive disorder within title or abstract. So in that case, you'll have to put major depressive disorder and then put TIAB, that is title and abstract, within 3rd bracket. So in that case, PubMed will only search for this term in titles and abstract. The basic idea is if the phrase is occurring within either title or abstract, then it is probably something which deals specifically with the disorder. So it will make the search more specific and the number of articles that will come will be less than the previous ones. Other ways of searching are also there. You can search by the name of journal, by the name of author. Here, the author is very important. Why I'm telling you? Because supposing you come across the name of a particular author who has specific publication in a particular area, and that particular area may be your area of research. So in those cases, probably if you are using a name of an author for search in PubMed, that may be of some help. Other options are year and date of publication, volume number, and issue number. So with this, I will just stop sharing here, and I will just try to show you how actually the search takes place in PubMed with the help of keywords, as I have just discussed. Just a minute. Just a minute. Just wait. Is the PubMed screen visible to you?
Yes, it is visible.
Yes. So you see, first I will just type, as I was saying, major depressive disorder. I'll just put search here. So it is yielding 140417 results. So it is 1,40,470 results. It's a huge number. Okay, because I have not put anything to specify a search. So now I'm just putting a quotation mark here between major depressive disorder. See. See, as I have put a quotation mark, the number of search results have come down to as low as 44,202. So I think that is one way where you can actually understand how the search engines work. So whenever you are searching for a phrase, even if you are doing it in Google or in Google Scholar, it is always advisable to put it within quotation marks so that those three words are, or two or three words are looked for at one go. Next, I will just give one example of a field search. You see, you have 44,202 results, and I think it is basically showing major depressive disorder occurring in any part of the article. What I will do now is I will put TIAB here. So now the search engine is expected to look for it only in the title and the abstract. So now I have zeroed down to 26,000 articles. So that leads to a further reduction. At least these 26197 results refer to articles which are, at least more specific to major depressive disorder. So these are the basic ways of carrying out the search with the help of keywords, and sometimes using certain terms for field search. Like as I have mentioned, for abstract you write TIAB, for author you write AU, and proceed similarly. Other things I will come to subsequently. Yes. Now, just a minute. Next is Boolean operators. These are very important. You see, Boolean operators are useful when using several keywords in combination. Supposing you are looking for the treatment of depression. So here you write depression and treatment. So when you write and as a Boolean operator, it will actually search for articles which contain depression and treatment. So when you are using and, when you are using or as a Boolean operator, supposing you are saying depression or treatment, then the search will become quite non-specific because it will look for all articles which contain the word depression. At the same time, it will also search for articles which contain treatment. So overall, it can be a huge number and often non-specific because you are specifically looking for treatment of depression. So if you are looking for treatment of depression, or as a search will unnecessarily make it non-specific and give you unnecessary irrelevant data. Another search word is not. So if you are using not, you are specifically asking the search engine that depression not treatment. Supposing you are using, that means any article which will have the word depression in it but not the treatment word in it. So basically all words related to depression not containing treatment. So that will reduce, that is basically depression minus treatment. So these are the three ways in which you can use the Boolean operators. The Boolean operators should always be typed within capital letters. That is very specifically to be done. So I will just 1 minute. These are the three Boolean operators. Okay, I'll come to mesh terms later and I will show it again in PubMed. Just a minute. Okay. Supposing you are looking for, the role of ECT in schizophrenia. Fine. So the best way to search for it is if you are using keyword based search with the help of a Boolean operator. You have two parts. One is schizophrenia and another is ECT as its treatment. So what I will do is I will type schizophrenia, then the Boolean operator and ECT. So we have 1012 results. Okay. Another interesting thing is when you are using and or, the order doesn't matter. So if you are using ECT and schizophrenia in the reverse order, we had used schizophrenia and ECT, but even if you are using ECT and schizophrenia, the number of articles will be same. See, you have the same number, 1012. Next, I'm looking for articles which mention both schizophrenia or ECT. So here the search will be a little non-specific. So all articles which mention either ECT or schizophrenia will be searched out. So you can see how non-specific this search has been. It is 159654 results compared to 1012 only in the previous one. So or is to be used with caution only in certain cases where it is relevant and definitely not in this case. Just the reverse search, schizophrenia or ECT yielding the same results. Now I will use not. This time you are specifically looking for articles which are dealing with schizophrenia but does not contain the word ECT. So that means all articles related to schizophrenia without the word ECT in it. So obviously we can expect a narrowed down search. See. sorry. Yes, here you see all articles of schizophrenia are there, but none of them contain ECT. Here the number is 149526. So all these articles which mention schizophrenia but do not mention ECT. In case of not, if you reverse the order, it is not the same. Here you can see there was 149 articles. Now you can see ECT not schizophrenia. Only 9,016 results, because there are obviously many more articles dealing with schizophrenia than with ECT. And here we have searched this time, those articles will deal primarily with ECT, but do not talk about schizophrenia. Probably they talk about mood disorders and other things. So here obviously the number is less. So we have discussed 3 Boolean operators, and is the most commonly used one, where it searches for both the terms. Number 2, or, where it searches for each term separately. And number 3 is where is not is used, where the exclusion of the second term is done and the first term is sought. So these are the 3 ways in which a Boolean operator can be used. I hope this part is clear. So mostly and will have to be used, and Boolean operators should always be used in capitals. Just a minute. Coming to mesh terms. Now, what are mesh? Mesh is basically also known as mesh or medical subject headings. Medical subject headings is basically a controlled list of vocabulary of terms given by the National Library of Medicine. So, basic idea is to generate a specific list of vocabulary so that it is easier to search. Supposing I may be searching for a patient with schizophrenia. I may be searching for a patient with paranoid schizophrenia. I may be searching for a patient with heavy phrenic schizophrenia. So there can be so many related terms. So the basic idea of mesh is a group of indexers of the National Library of Medicines sit with the article, go through the entire text of the article, and from the article they generate a set of terms called mesh terms, which can be universally used for searching the engine. The best advantage is that related or same type of terms will come under the search if it is properly indexed. So mesh terms are very useful for yielding high quality articles. The biggest advantage is a mesh term is generated only in those articles which are indexed in Medline searches. So mesh generated searches yield the most effective and high quality peer reviewed articles. So how to go about it? To find out mesh terms before search, click on mesh at the bottom of the page, then provide your key term. I will show this to you. And once the mesh terms are displayed along with the qualifiers, you proceed further in building up your search. This I will show. Only one thing has to be remembered, that mesh indexing of an article takes time. So today in the July of 2021, one article gets accepted in Medline. It will take quite a while to generate mesh terms and ultimately for the mesh terms of the article to be available. So very recent and current articles, even if they are indexed in Medline, may not be available through mesh search. This is one. And number 2, there are many articles in PubMed which are not belonging to Medline index journals. In those cases, mesh headings will not yield those articles. So these are 2 disadvantages of mesh search. Otherwise, mesh is a very systematic way of searching articles, and it has been very rigorously done by a team of indexers of Medline. Other PubMed such strategies, I'm telling all this because I will show them together. Advanced search, that function can be used. Then there can be various filters. Once you zero down on some 2000 articles, maybe you would be only wanting to look at systematic reviews or meta-analysis, or maybe articles which are published only in the last 2 to 5 years. So there are various filters. Once you apply those filters, you can actually zero down on the very specific requirement that you are looking for. Then there are truncation symbols. I'll tell you what it is about. Similar articles option, sorting by option, and also you can actually save and email your search results to yourself or to somebody, to your guide or somebody. So these are the options that you have in PubMed. So before going to Google Scholar, I will just show you how to go for a mesh search term briefly. Yes. So as you can see here, last time we had done with schizophrenia and ECT. Here we are trying to go for a mesh search. So what I will do is, at the end of the page, PubMed page, this is the PubMed page, fine. So at the end of the page, here is mesh. This word is written. So I will just click on mesh. Right? So a new page opens. So what I will do is, here I will type schizophrenia. Search for it. So all these results are basically related to mesh terms. So I will just use this, schizophrenia. So as you can see in the screen, I think it is visible, there are so many subheadings under the term schizophrenia. This will be extremely useful for you for building up your search. For example, you want to look for therapy of schizophrenia. In that case, you go for drug therapy. If you want to look for any other modes of therapy, you can go for this particular mode. So all the aspects of schizophrenia are covered in the subheadings. And here is a list of different terms. As I was saying, they are all put together. They are known as the mesh subheadings. Schizophrenia, schizophrenic disorders, all the same, even dementia precox. So it will actually capture all articles which have these terms, because they will be captured in the under the mesh term of schizophrenia. Then schizophrenia, catatonic, disorganized, they will all fall under the major mesh term of schizophrenia. So what I will do is, I will restrict to the mesh major topic, and here I will add. This is the search builder. So schizophrenia I have put in search builder. Here are options of adding to the search, which I will do with ECT. But before that, I want to show that there are Boolean operators here in the option. So it can be and, or not, as I was saying. So it is schizophrenia. Now I will go for ECT. So I have searched for ECT. It gives me the option of electroconvulsive therapy. So here, there are so many options. If you are independently searching for electroconvulsive therapy, you can search for articles under adverse effects, CSF effects, epidemiology, its efficacy, therapeutic use, and so many things. So I will again just restrict to mesh major topic, and I will add it to the search builder. As you can see, and is already there as a default Boolean operator. So schizophrenia as a major mesh topic and electroconvulsive therapy as the major mesh topic. So I am doing a proper mesh search. Here is the option search PubMed. See how nicely the result has come down. It has only been zeroed down to 699 results. It has its disadvantages also, But if you are looking for a very specific search of high quality article, a mesh search can be very, very effective. So there are only 699 articles compared to so many, hundreds and thousands of them that was coming previously when you are using simple keyword based search. Now I will show you the importance of filters. Just have a look on the left side. Out of those 699 results, you just want those articles which are published in the last 5 years. So there are two options. You can either click 5 years in the publication date and see only 108 articles. If you want to reduce the year with the help of the slider, this option is also there. This is the new addition. You can increase or you can decrease the number. So you can bring it as close as 2017, 2018, 2019. So in last 2 years, see, only 58 publications in the last 2 years. So this is what you can do with the publication year. Other than that, you want to look specifically out of these 58 results, you want specifically those articles which are free full text. So you end up with only 14 articles because they are the ones providing free full text. Leave this aside. You want to look for clinical trials, meta-analysis. Supposing I want to look at a systematic review, which is a very important way to search literature. So there is only one systematic review in the last 2 years, which has come from Cochrane and shows electroconvulsive therapy for treatment resistant schizophrenia. So this is a very specific article that you can generate with the help of this search. So this is about mesh search and also how to use various filters. As you can see, all these filters can be used, and this is very unique to PubMed. You will not find such refined methods of search in Google Scholar. Then you can use additional filters. Also, additional filters include, language, because in PubMed, you will find articles in Spanish, in Arabic. So you will have to look for the language at the end of the article. So here you can use language and actually ask for language articles only in English. So there are so many other ways of doing it. So let us leave it for the time being because we are running short of time. So this is about mesh search. Then another option is there, which is the advanced search. See, in advanced search is also basically, it is almost similar, but here you may not be using a mesh term. Here all fields are used. So in case of all fields, you can actually look for the author, you can look for a book, you can look for terms in, abstract. As I was saying, a title and abstract. So if you put title and abstract here, only the search term, if it is found in title and abstract, will be retrieved. And you can use, as usual, you can add and or not as Boolean operators. So this is all about the advanced search. Now, another important thing is, as I was saying, citation based search. You see, citation based search is you go to any article and see. Let me come to the first article, a prospective multi-center assessor blinded RCT, this one. See, once I go to this article, what can I find out from this article? See, there are mesh terms. So mesh terms for this article have already been generated. And there are so many mesh terms in these articles. This is one. Second is, you can actually look for related articles from this article. So similar articles. So there are so many similar articles. So with the help of the similar articles, you can develop and build up your search further. So these are so many advantages that are there in this particular search engine. Just a minute. Yes. Now I'm coming to Google Scholar. So Google Scholar, unlike PubMed, is not so efficient a search engine, but it has access to many more articles than PubMed. So it is a free to access web search engine. It is not a scholarly database. It has access to journal articles, books, thesis, patents, can be searched mostly by using keywords or phrases. They are to be put in quotation marks. Boolean operators, as I've mentioned, like and, or not, they may be used. So Boolean operators can be used. Cited by and similar articles options are useful. As I was mentioning in PubMed, a similar option of cited by and similar articles that is there. You can also sort by relevance and by date. You can filter by year of publication, and the articles can be saved in the My Library section. Just a minute. So PubMed versus Google Scholar, when you just compare these two, Google Scholar has very few search limits or filters, unlike PubMed, which has options of looking for meta-analysis, systematic reviews, and so many. PubMed allows use of mesh headings and controlled vocabulary that is not there in Google because it is not a database. PubMed stores search history. Search history is not stored in Google Scholar. You will have to save it separately. Studies have shown that Google Scholar searches out almost twice as many articles as PubMed in similar settings and search words. This is very important. See, you always will think that PubMed is superior to Google Scholar, but no. In similar search words, it actually gives you a greater yield. It also gives you almost twice the number of free full text articles in comparison to PubMed. So Google Scholar is not all that bad. It may not be so refined, although it is improving day by day, but it gives you more articles, although the scholarly nature of the articles is a little more stringent in terms of indexing and all that is there in PubMed. And Google Scholar, this is very important when you go for writing review articles. Gray literature, as I was saying, unpublished thesis, dissertation. So Google Scholar also provides access to gray literature. This is important. I'll just 1 minute. Just a minute. Yes. So here you can see Google Scholar. I will be searching for no, I'll be looking it like this. Schizophrenia, then I'll be using a Boolean operator and ECT. Okay, so here I have used a Boolean operator and schizophrenia and ECT. It yields 69,600 results. It is almost twice as was evident from the search using the same Boolean operators in PubMed. So the number of articles that have come up is much more. What are the other functions that you can perform with it? You can actually, when you look at this star, if you just press it, it gets fixed, and then subsequently it can be mailed on put or put in the library, so it can be saved. Here is sorting of the articles you can do in terms of timing, or you can sort by date. So the earliest articles, latest articles come up in the first, and the articles that were published later can come up later. So these are the two major sortings that you can do. Apart from that, you can use Boolean operators. So this is basically the way search is done on Google Scholar. I'll just open one article and I will show you. See. It is not belonging to Google Scholar. It has been taken from Mate page. This one has been taken from Oxford University's page. So it has come from all possible sources. And it also shows how many articles have been cited. You see, sort by date. So these are very recent. So they do not have much of a citation. But if I sort by relevance, see, ECT in schizophrenia, a review from a clinical perspective. It was in 2012. It has been cited by 98. You can go through all the citations and build up your search. Similarly, you can go to the section of related articles and build up your search. I think this is basically the outline of Google Scholar. Coming back to my presentation. So this is all about PubMed and Google Scholar and what are the advantages and disadvantages of the two search engines. What I would recommend is you should use both, because that will help you in actually getting a bigger resource and to be more specific regarding what you want. Can we use Google because it is so popular? Better to avoid it, as it may bring in lots of irrelevant material based on your location, search history, and so many other things. So it is better to avoid Google. If used at all, should be browsed in incognito mode so that previous history does not influence current search. This is very important. You see, when you are browsing Google, what happens is if you have searched yesterday about something, day before yesterday about something, your location, so many things influence your search, because Google uses the data to influence the current search, and that makes the search as such more and more non-academic. So best way is you go to the settings of Google Chrome, look for incognito mode and search in incognito mode for academic literature. At least that will keep the search relatively unbiased. And as I was saying, always put phrases within quotation marks, because otherwise the words will be searched for separately. Most scholarly resources that are taken up in Google actually come from Google Scholar. So it does not add much of a value if you are using Google for a search. So this is a list of the important sources of literature: PsycInfo, EMBase, Scopus. These are all paid sources. IndMed is a resource. I was not finding it effective these days, the website. It is basically a repository of Indian journals, a database for Indian journals. Cochrane Library, paid source. National Guideline Clearinghouse is basically a repository of different clinical guidelines across the world. PubMed Central is a subset of PubMed, consisting of free full text articles. Medscape, you all know, is also a source of free full text articles. Another important thing I forgot to mention, it is always better before conducting a search to sign up and register for both PubMed and Google Scholar, because that way you will be able to save your searches, email, and have some additional benefits and functions. You can actually make an alert so that articles on a particular topic can actually come as an email alert. So it is always better to sign up for these two databases before conducting your search. Finally, making sense of the material you have developed. You have got so many material, or maybe you have got much less than you had asked for. So if you retrieve too many articles, consider refining your search. Whether you have actually, there are so many ways I have showed you to refine your search. What is the quality of literature gathered by you? Are these adequately peer reviewed? Are they recent? If you are still confused, take help of secondary sources like systematic reviews. So if you are confused in a sea of original articles, you go for a systematic review, go through the references of that systematic review, because they have sorted out good quality articles. So you will actually get good quality references from a published systematic review. Remember the research question. You go back to the research question which you had put in the PICO format to consider the relevance of your search. If you have ended up with too few articles, maybe you have to change your search terms, look for new search terms, and find out ways to yield more articles. Use citation and reference based search if required. I have showed you. One is the forward search, that is using citations, and backward search using reference list. So this is the way you can actually make sense of the material that you have gathered. So the concluding research: search for biomedical literature has become much more convenient with technological advances. However, it is essential to develop the habit for the right search methods to yield proper peer-reviewed literature. Effective search requires patience. Our search may have to be repeated with various permutations and combinations. Two important practices are essential. You must frame a proper search question. This is very, very important. And save the results repeatedly as you proceed, because or else you will get to tend to get lost in your search material. So I think with that I have come to the end of my presentation, and thank you for your patient listening.
Thanks, Sujit. That was a very lucid presentation. I'm sure that you were. I think you can stop the slide screen sharing.
Yes, I will do that.
The way you did the live demonstration, I am sure that it would have benefited a lot of PGs. They may not have seen somebody doing it that way, especially that mesh search and Boolean operators and all. People usually don't intuitively do all those things. So I have shared the link for the feedback form. Please fill that, all of you, and any of you, if you have your doubts, please raise it in the chat box along with the name of your college. And like previously, there was a request. No, I don't want my name to be revealed. So if anybody wants the question to be read here in an anonymous manner, please mention that along with your question. There is one question from Dr. Pooja Gupta. Can you please tell what is peer-reviewed literature and how exactly can we find out those articles?
Okay, thank you, Pooja. Basically, peer-reviewed literature is what is found in standard journals, or for that matter, in standard published sources. Basically, for example, I will tell you what happens in the common journals that we have here. Say, for example, Indian Journal of Psychiatry or Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine, two standard peer-reviewed journals. An article is submitted for publication. It is sent to at least two people who are expert reviewers in that field, and they independently review the article for its quality and its scientific content. After reviewing, they give their feedbacks whether the article is to be rejected or there are certain faults which can be modified. So it is sent back by the editor to the authors for correction of those shortcomings. And finally, after all these corrections and modifications, the revised or the refined form of the article comes out. So basically, a peer-reviewed article is something which is reviewed by peers or equals or scientific equals to the researcher in terms of scientific content, which actually is a stamp on the validity of the published source. If it is not peer reviewed, for example, we talk about predatory journals which ask that you just send us articles and send some money, we'll publish it. So the quality of the article is not actually checked or ratified. So this is basically the idea of peer reviewed literature, and you should always trust peer reviewed literature.
So I have also enabled the unmute option. If anybody wants to ask a question directly, that is also possible. Now there is a question from Dr. Sadananda Reddy. What are databases more suitable for social science topics? What databases are more suitable for social science topics?
I think here Dr. Shahul may also help me out. If I remember, you see, as I was saying, for biomedical literature, I think PubMed is good enough. And if you talk about other social science specifically related to psychology, I think PsycInfo, which is unfortunately a paid source, is a very good repository for psychology and related social science topics. And Google Scholar can also add up if you're looking for free material. Would you like to add anything, Shahul sir?
No, PsycInfo is a good option. Another thing is, especially if you want to go for the full text, then there are these websites like academia.edu and ResearchGate and all. They are not search engines as such, but they are repositories where people put a lot of the full text of their work. So like in those sites, especially in academia, there are loads of psychology, sociology, social work kind of topics. They have many researchers from those areas put their works in those websites.
Academia.edu, right?
Yeah. And also ResearchGate, I think this .org or net or something. There are other questions. One is from Devika Dr. Devika is asking, at times it is confusing while using multiple Boolean operations in combinations in a single search.
At times it is, what did he say?
Confusing, basically, if you are using multiple Boolean operations in a single search in very diverse combinations, that becomes very confusing. That is a kind of a comment. So we have to solve
Yes,
that.
yes, I think you are correct. So basically it is something, which comes with practice. What I have given in this limited time is a very clear cut example, which does not have much of a complication. The more the number of search terms that are to be used and they are to be linked, the more the confusion. You have to basically go by a few thumb rules. First of all, it will increase with practice. This is number one. Number two is not is to be used very specifically or very cautiously. And is, I think, the commonest used Boolean operator because it serves the most of our functions. So or and specifically not has to be used with very specific indication.
Yeah, I would like to show one of my slides because that is one example that I had. Like especially in published literature, they have very very complicated kind of this. See this one. Is it visible?
Yes, yes, I can see you.
Yeah. This is the combination of Boolean operators that they used in one review article. So it is so complicated. So if you do that way, basically you will get very targeted results. That is what advantage. But again, as Sujit said, that needs a lot of experience and like expertise in conducting search. Otherwise, you will be lost fully. That's it. Now there are other questions also. One is from Dr. Hira. Is there any standard number of articles we need to refer to make review of literature for thesis?
No, Dr. Hira, there is no standard number of review articles that one has to make. It is basically depends upon your requirement. The whole idea of conducting today's lecture was to make you zero down on the more relevant articles. You see, there is a limit to which one can actually see and search. What happens is if you go for an untrained Google search or something, you come up with an abnormal number of results and you end up getting tired with 1 or 2 pages and then you somehow manage with that. So that has to be avoided. If you can do a proper focused search, you come up with the most relevant articles. And then you use those articles. If you find that you are unable to handle original articles, as I was saying, you go to a secondary source like a systematic review, actually see what they are trying to make sense, how they are trying to make sense of the available literature, identify the research gaps and write the literature review accordingly. Basically, most of the times in a paper or a literature review, the basic idea is to establish the literature and find out or zero down on the research gap, which has set the context of your current study. So for that, I think a systematic review initially can be of help if you are unable to find a way out from a sea of literature. The bottom line is there is no fixed number, but you will have to go into the most important and relevant research. That is important.
Okay. Another question from Dr. Pooja Gupta. Which version of APA we should be using for literature review? We be using the 7th edition? And if so, how many names we can use? And after how many names we use at all?
See, Dr. Pooja, I am not familiar with the latest revision. I was thinking about APA 6. If the 7th has come, fine. I think the APA citation, I think it's a paid thing. Every year they come up with a new format and usually it is a paid source. So I am not very familiar with the number. Usually what we do in our journals, what we do in IJP or IJPM, we follow the International Council of Medical Journal Editors format, ICMJE format. There usually we go for an et al. After 6, and it is a different format than that of the American Psychological Association. So if you have to specifically look for this question, I would suggest that you search what APA 7 suggests. I don't know whether it will be available free or not.
Another question from Dr. Malay Khosal. How much importance to be given to the number of citations? I think he meant the number of citations that particular article has received.
Yes, I think citations are important, but again, the quality of the article is also important because depends upon what we are looking for. There are very good articles which may not be cited too much. That is actually something which is based on judgment. Again, the citations will vary. Supposing PubMed will always show less number of citations for the same article compared to Google Scholar, because Google Scholar picks up citations from other sources of literature also. So it's a very relative question. The bottom line is citation is a rough marker of an article's importance or popularity, but probably final judgment will not be based on citations alone.
So I don't think there are any other questions as of now. We will wait for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And if somebody wants to unmute and ask question, that option is also there. And the feedback form link has been shared again. If anybody,
Sir, I have a question. What are the unpaid search engine to get the full text except that of Sci-Hub? Do you have another thing?
No, I have mentioned the for full text articles, you go for PubMed Central. PubMed Central is one source, and then you have Academia Edu, as Dr. Shahul was saying. Then you have Medscape. There you have full A. Don't better not to talk about Sci-Hub because ultimately it is a pirated source,
Pirates.
and so it is not something which is in because there is an issue of legality and things like that. So
Yes.
among the legal sources, approved sources, I think PubMed Central and Academia Edu as of now.
Thank you, sir.
yeah, we have this one. There is one website called freemedicaljournals.com that searches a lot of free journals. Then there is one called Scielo, SCIELO, that has basically many journals from that South American side. They give a lot of free journals there. Then also there is another one called BioLine International, which gives some free articles, and also you can search various sources. So like everything combined, you will get like a good collection.
Another important thing is you should not forget your college libraries, especially those related to big institutions. When we were in CIP, Shahul sir also knows, there were so many articles that was subscribed. There were so many journals, for example, Science Direct and all. So many of the articles can actually be accessed with the help of the institute librarian. If you are in a big institute, or if you have a friend who is in, say, for example, AIMS, NIMAN, CIP, that can be of a big help.
So if there are no further questions, I think we can wind it up. Maybe 1 more minute I will wait. If somebody wants to unmute and ask any question, especially I think some faculty members, some senior people are there. Especially if they want to say something, ask something, they are welcome to do that. Or especially the PGs, if they want, they can use the chat mode. It is open. I think you have covered all the portions very lucidly and clearly, that they don't have many confusions or clarifications or further doubts.
I think that basically with practice only it will develop into a habit, rather than, because we have a habit of just putting it into Google and looking for the first page or the second page. The basic idea is that has to go at least for academic training. Because, and you must also mention that the resource that you had made, the book that is being given to the PGs, that itself has this particular section very lucidly written. I was going through it today morning also. So the book on primer on publication and all, I think all PGs should actually strive for the best question award so that they can lay their hands on this book, because it covers the literature review section quite nicely.
So thanks, Sujit, once again, and thanks, Dr. Susmita, for like introducing the speaker. Thanks to the Torrent team for the technical support. Thanks to all our fellow members from the specialty section, Dr. Dubajyoti, Dr. Chindan. Thanks to all of you once again. Good night. We will meet again next week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So I think I will end the meeting.